and the throat, into the throat and down into the lungs, right? And we fill ourselves, the oxygen goes not only to our lungs, but also makes way into our blood and our brain, which we know our brain is in charge of concentration. You all are students, so we need to be mindful of these processes that happen within our body. So you decide if you want to breathe in through your nose or your mouth at this time. So we'll all inhale together. So take a deep inhale. And then just hold it for 1 moment. Hold it at the top, right? Wherever you feel it right now. And then slowly release. And when you release, you might notice that you're pressing the air out through your lips, and you can like slowly blow it out as if you're blowing into a straw. Or you can take a big exhalation out. So again, one more time, we're going to inhale. Hold at the top, and then slowly exhale. In your exhale, I want you to notice the temperature of your breath. So go ahead and inhale. Is it cool? Is it warm? And as you exhale, notice the temperature of your exhalation, of that out breath, the out breath. And in your next breath, I want you to notice what area of your body kind of rises, and that can be your chest or your belly. And if you want to put your hand there, you can. So go ahead and inhale. And then exhale. And notice how that area of your body slowly collapses and decreases. So by now you would have found your most comfortable breathing style, and you're gonna use this throughout the presentation. Remembering to breathe, reminding ourselves that even though we're looking at something and we're engaged, we want to breathe. So what is mindfulness? Mindfulness is a state of active and open attention to the present. When you're mindful, you observe your thoughts from a distance without judging them good or bad. An example of that might be, why am I so hard on myself? Why am I so tired? Just questioning and engaging in these thought processes. So what mindfulness tells you is like, hey, step away from the thought and just view your exhaustion or your fatigue just as it is, without kind of putting a label on it or being down on yourself. Mindfulness also helps us that in the way of, instead of allowing our days and the things we do to pass us by, it allows us to live in the moment and increase the experiences that we have. For example, having breakfast. If we slow down a little bit, we might notice that maybe it tasted different today. Maybe it was a little warmer or colder, or the way that you chew and so forth. So when we hear of mindfulness, we often think of meditation and yoga. However, it's not just exclusive to those two things. Many of us in our own culture, we practice mindfulness all the time, and it could be through dance, through music, through cooking, spirituality, and so forth. Breathing, as you did earlier, drawing, painting, and like I mentioned, eating. So there's many things that could be mindful, including walking. And I just want to go into the benefits, because I think that sometimes we don't know that there's a lot of good things that could come out of the actual practice of mindfulness and meditation. So what it does is it helps us increase our concentration and attention span. It increases our constructive responses, so our reactivity to others or to situations, reduces stress, boosts memory, and assists in managing anxiety, depression, and other emotions. Mindfulness and meditation helps regulate our body in different ways. It helps us connect to others, and we'll speak more on that. It helps us cultivate compassion being self-love and understanding. And students who practice mindfulness techniques before an exam actually perform better. There's actual research on this, so we will go into those tips as well. And I imagine, during a pandemic, what I'm hearing and seeing a lot of is that right now grades have dropped for some students. They find it more unmanageable to participate in distant learning. So maybe some of these tools might be helpful to you. So I want to go into a little bit about how we experience difficult emotions, and then I'll ask some of you to share the ways in which the pandemic or you experience difficult emotions as a student. So naturally, our body gives us a stress response. So we feel like we cry, we get tense, or our body hurts. Like, do you ever have like most children, they don't know how to say I'm sad or I'm upset. So they'll say, Mom, my stomach hurts, or if they're scared. And again, I mentioned we do rapid breathing, and a lot of our emotions sometimes is experienced in the stomach. So we get nausea. If we're excited, we may feel butterflies in the stomach, or if it's like something kind of scary and adrenaline, our stomach feels like it drops. We might experience headaches, lack of concentration, and confusion or dizziness. So if you'd like to unmute yourself or share in the chat, what are some difficulties that college students face, especially during a pandemic and experiencing distance learning? So I'll give you all a moment to share in the chat what that might be for some of you. I'll open that up. Or feel free again to unmute yourself. Time management, Brittany, thanks for sharing. Nelly also said time management. That was a big one for me too as well. And then concentrating. Parties, stress. Yeah, absolutely. Focusing on schoolwork or simply understanding concepts. Absolutely. And then grades or jobs. I would say the difficulties is managing to upholding a good study space. Definitely. There's a lack of space right now in our homes for sure, making the best out of like any corner in our home. But I think, let's see, what else do we have? Focusing on work while being easily distracted and concentration. So those are things that I think mindfulness can help you with. Let me go back. Time management. If any of you feels like telling me more about that, I'm really interested in knowing, because time management is very complex. Like sometimes it's a lack of, we might have an idea of what we want to do with our time, but someone else mentioned that things pull you out and you become distracted. And then yes, there's a lack of motivation. I also want to just share that so you all kind of normalize this at depression. Absolutely, Julia said. So this again, I know everyone talks about the pandemic and COVID, but the lifestyle change, and yeah, absolutely, see the uncertainty has definitely affects. So some of the things, and I'm not saying any of you have depression, but so you all are aware that some of the symptoms of depression include a lack of motivation, lack of concentration, kind of like a feeling of lack of happiness and joy in the things we used to enjoy doing. So like reading a book, or I used to like drawing, or kind of doing something fun, and I'm not interested in that anymore. So having to adapt to those things make your job, because being a student is like having a job, it makes your job much more difficult. So and yes, overwhelming duties like too much homework, house needs, and everything else. And being at home, I don't know about any of you, but do you ever know when to stop? Like, well, I've been doing homework for like 12 hours. And if I was at school, I kind of probably would have stopped after 2 hours. So not having, so going back to time management, like not being able to know when to stop being on the computer. So how do you all, like, I want you all to notice at this moment how you feel when you write all these things. So even me reading these, comments reminds me of when I was a student, and I feel like I'm always a student. I'm always like doing like learning and research, but I feel so go ahead and type in the chat. How do you feel? So I feel my chest is tightening as I read depression, lack of motivation, concentration, maybe like a heaviness like on the head, or sweatiness on the palms. So if anyone notices anything that might come up for them as they write this, or as they're kind of realizing, hey, when I think about the most difficult things as a student, my body reacts in these type of ways. So Julia says she feels her eyes heavy along with her head. Good. Yeah, so tuning in, like now we're making sense of what we feel and how it impacts our body. So connecting everything. Tense muscles. And then I feel a heaviness on my chest. Good, so we're noticing, and then someone says, I tend to stress and have headaches. So their emotion, again, is tied to our body and our physical responses. And in turn, that reacts, or that affects the way we react and behave towards others and our work. So Isabella says, I feel heaviness on my head and my chest. Okay, thank you all for being vulnerable and sharing these experiences. Now we're kind of aware and we're probably uncomfortable a little bit. So let's just sit with that and notice a bit. Okay, so with that, I want you to notice where you're at now. You've identified something school related and the emotion and the physical response. So give it from 0 to 10. If you want to write it down or if you want to have it in your brain, how bad is it? Maybe it's an 8, maybe it's a 7, etc. So give it a number right now. So now that you have that number in mind, we're going to go ahead and do tranquility and body scan meditation. So what I want you to do is to get comfortable in your seat. So you might want to adjust. So sometimes it helps your feet to be planted on the ground. You might want to sit upright. I have a pillow behind my back because it helps support like my back. You can do that. You can shake your arms out, like maybe you were, not comfortable, but get as comfortable as you'd like to at this moment. And remembering the breathing that we did earlier. So let's take a deep breath together. Inhale. And then slowly exhale. I'm going to invite you to close your eyes or gaze down and just find an area, like if you want to look at your knees, if you want to close your eyes, and we'll do this together. So we're sitting comfortably with our eyes closed or our gaze lowered. I want you to inhale and exhale. And we're going to imagine and visualize a cycle of inhaling and exhaling. And with each breath, we're becoming more aware of our body. So again, feel the breath as it enters with a cool feeling. And then as it's warm and it travels down into your lungs, see if you can notice that with your next breath as you inhale. And then I want you to notice your feet planted on the ground. Notice where your sit bones meet the chair. Your back against the chair as well. And in your next breath, I want you to drop your shoulders. If your shoulders were tense and they were high, go ahead and drop them. Roll them back if you need to. In your next breath, if your jaw is tight and clenched, I want you to unclench your jaw and just relax it. In your next breath, I want you to smoothen out your face muscles. If you feel any tension in your face, breathe into those areas and then relax it. The next breath, if you notice anything uncomfortable in your body, you're calling your attention, I want you to breathe into that area. pulling in all this oxygen to that specific area. And when you exhale, I want you to release and relax. So in your inhale, I want you to bring in energy, any kind of life force, anything that's energetic to you. Inhale that in. And as you exhale, imagine that you're releasing toxins, any stress, or anything that's weighing you down. Just visualize that for one moment. Take another deep breath and give yourself more of that energy. And again, releasing any of that toxic heaviness that you might have been carrying. So stay with this breath. I'm going to give you 5 breaths on your own as we continue to this meditation. So begin your 5 breaths. Just take your time. We're not rushing. And as you sit with this new energy that you've brought into your body, become aware of the warmth and the tingling of, if you can imagine, every cell in your body just moving, and it feels warm and it feels comfortable. Imagining that there's this energy filled within your body. And sometimes we're able to feel that same energy extended outside of us, maybe in the immediate room around us or in our space. Imagine you can bring the energy that's in your body and the outside and combine them as one. Continue to breathe and visualize this. Now what you'll do is visualize that energy shining bright. You can imagine it as bright as the sun or as warm as the sun. And bring that glow of energy to the top of your head, like if it was a crown, just like a ball of energy floating on top of your head. And I want you to let it slowly melt inside your head. So you can feel it in your forehead now, in the back of your eyes, going down into your neck, the back of the upper back and shoulders. Maybe now in the chest where the heart is, into the stomach, now into the hips, and feeling it go down our thighs and all the way down the legs. And maybe now it's in your toes. So now your whole body is filled with this light and energy. This energy is expanding and it's healing. And just reminding yourself that you created this space today and you can always access this. So sit with one last breath. And when you're ready, you can blink your eyes open and come back to the room. So I want to get feedback with that you can either share how you're feeling, or you can let me know if you're still at a 8 from that other situation that we were kind of focusing on in the chat, or feel free to unmute yourself. If anyone feels called to unmute themselves, you have the floor. I'll go back and just open up the chat very quick. And for some of you that might have been hard, or you felt nothing, so anything is good. There you are. Okay. So some feel a constant 7. Okay. Julia feels relaxed. Okay, so that was earlier. Sorry. Julia felt a 7 and now she feels relaxed. Nelly feels relaxed and calm. Brittany, very tranquil. So interesting how we all were able to create this space for ourselves after identifying like such an impactful emotion that's tied to our day-to-day. 100%. So I'm gonna just say Andrea shared, and Andrea, I hope it's okay that I read this out loud, but someone says, is it okay to maybe like tear or like feel like crying within the first 5 minutes of this exercise? Yes, 100%. So that actually, and I would be lying if I said that didn't happen to me. Sometimes there's some meditations where I was like, why, what's going on? Like, why am I crying? Or, where did this come from? So yes. And Brittany said she felt the same way actually. So I'm glad that you shared that, because it sounds like other people are experiencing that. And that was what I mentioned in the beginning. Maybe there was something that you were storing in the little box down there. Maybe you didn't know that you were storing it because you're so busy. You're completing your schoolwork, you're getting ready for exams, you're getting ready for holidays and dealing with family stuff or friends. So we don't know that we are doing that. It's such an unconscious thing. So the moment you let yourself relax, you tune into the emotion, to every point of the body, things get released. It's like a little time capsule that just gets released and then it's gone. It's not often we take time to notice our throat, that our shoulders are up here, right? Sometimes we need to just remind ourselves, let's just drop them and roll them back. And we don't notice our jaw as well, right? That it's clenched and that we're holding on to stress in the mouth. So absolutely, Andrea, thank you for sharing that. And Brittany, yes, that is very normal, and it's part of the process, which soon you build this strength. Thinking of meditation and mindfulness as like a muscle, exercising the brain muscle, and you're gonna get better at it each time that you practice. It'll be easier to relax and to access like peace and tranquility. Okay, thank you all for sharing. I think these are great responses. So sometimes I have clients who tell me, you know what, April, I was so stressed out, I could not meditate. Like at that point, I was a 10. And when I'm a 10, don't ask me to meditate. And I'm like, got it, like noted. We can't do that, right? Because we didn't check ourselves. We didn't notice where we were. And at this point, it's completely unmanageable. So the next best thing you can do, which is also part of mindfulness, is grounding techniques and exercises. Grounding techniques and exercises. So grounding is a tool used to anchor yourself in the present, or a technique used to regulate emotions. It uses the 5 senses. So our sight, our ability to hear, smell, taste, and touch. And it sparks the connection between our body and mind. Because what happens when we're upset is that they disconnect. I can't control my breathing or my fists, like I'm clenching them and my body feels hot. I'm just so upset right now that I can't think and bring myself down. So when we use these, we get back in touch with ourselves. So this is a exercise that I've done before. Luis is familiar with it since he saw it. So I really enjoy grounding. So I'm just going to ask you all again in the chat, what's one thing you like to look at that brings you joy and peace? We'll start with seeing things. My dog, me too. Both of my dogs. What else? The sky, colors, the ocean, my dog as well, the beach, and I like to listen to the waves, plants, nature, art, trees. These are all great. Plants, perfect. I love that. The sky at night and the colors. I agree. Sunsets. As we see all these and hear them, I also want you to notice how, again, noticing what comes up for you physically, how you feel. So those are some things we look at that cause immediate grounding. Ian likes to be in a dark room. I like that one too. That's very helpful. Sometimes light is overstimulating, so it helps us to be in a dark room. Okay, now the next one is hearing. What are some sounds that we like to hear that just bring us peace and tranquility? Rainwater, maybe for, yeah, rain, water running, rain, water sounds, white noise. Good. Thank you all for adding those. Cars passing by at night. That's an interesting one. I like that one. That's true. Rain and wind chimes. Very true. Heavy metal. I like that. That can be very mindful for many people. There's like a specific song that I like that's heavy metal. I'm like, when I need to hear that song, I go to that song. Piano, orchestra too. Very cool. Okay, 80s rock, slow songs and wind. So let's move to smell. What are some things we like to smell that kind of make us feel calm or relaxed? I like to smell mint. Mint smells, I don't know, smells good. Vanilla, strawberry, flowers, fresh linen, lavender and grass, fresh laundry. Great. Chocolate, eucalyptus, flowers, rosemary. Someone once said to me, pan dulce and coffee. You know, like those sweet, like smells of home. So rosemary and lavender, great. And coffee, yes. What about taste? What's one taste that if you taste this particular thing, you kind of feel relaxed? Sometimes that could be a warmth, like a warm tea or an iced tea. Ian says Arizona strawberry and kiwi. Yes. Soup, Julia says. Luis says Mexican food makes him feel at home. Itza says hot chocolate. Good. Milk tea from Victor. Cherie says horchata. Nice. So what about touch? If we move to touch and takis, that's a funny one, and hot beverages. If we move to touch, what are some things? So we went going back to the dog, right? If you pet your dog, that might it releases hormones that helps us relax. Absolutely. Sometimes a fuzzy blanket, like if you have a fuzzy blanket that you like. Hugging people, says Julia. Brittany says warmth. Andrea, her dog, and Alessandra, flower petals. Yeah, that's a really good one. Good. So soft and cuddly things and hair, Itzel. Cool. So now we know, right, that there's also grounding, that if we cannot meditate, if we find that that we can't stop and slow down because we're far too like dysregulated in our process, we can go to a grounding technique and it still counts as mindfulness for many of us. And you all gave really great examples using your 5 senses. So remembering these techniques, even before an exam, you're feeling stressed out, have those things next to you. Like I have like a spray that has different smells to it. You can make your own things that you know are going to help you sort of come down from that like anxiety before an exam. Okay. So here's another piece that I like to review because I think it's helpful, and I know all of you are sitting right now on a computer, and I'm sure this is not the first hour of the day you've been on the computer. So using chair yoga, you don't need to be, this is the thing with yoga studios and whatnot. Like people think I have to be in a yoga studio, I have to pay, I have to get a mat, I have to have yoga clothes, and that this is here to show you that you don't have to, and you don't need all of that. So one of the muscles that we use frequently on computers is our wrists and our hands. And I want you all to join me in the practice if you can with this first chair yoga experience. And I just want you to stick your palm out right in front of you, whichever hand. And like you can pull the kind of like stretch your muscles, like pull it back a little bit. Give yourself that little stretch and then fold it the opposite way and push it in. And then give yourself a twirl and then the other way. And then do the next one. So we're gonna pull back just like that. And then we're gonna flip it and we're gonna give it a little push, not too much, and then twirl it one way and then the other, because you use your hands a lot. And roll your shoulders back if you can. Julia says her hands are so stiff. Oh my God. So maybe we didn't notice how stiff our hands and Ian's hands. I'm sorry, your hand popped. So mine cracked. So I was, yeah, I can imagine that. So we're rolling our shoulders, it's rolling back. When we type, sometimes our shoulders rise up, so drop them. And then one that I really like is holding onto the back of your chair and giving yourself a twist, because there's a part of the back that stays pinched all day. So you want to twist from one side. And then let's do the other side. Let's like hold on to whatever we can and just give ourselves a little twist and a tug, stretching out that part of the back. Another one is, our backs sometimes are curled and slouched. So let's go ahead and curl it a little bit. So curl your spine. You all are funny. Someone's back cracked. And then now curl the spine, but then straighten it up and pull your shoulders back. So curl the spine one more time. Curl it like forward. And then when you put your back, pretend there's a pencil that you're kind of squeezing in your back. Like, there you go. And you pop it, or don't pop it, but yeah. And then you can always stretch your hands up and look at the tips of your fingers. So looking at the tips of your fingers, now you're really giving the sides of your back a stretch, and then bring the arms down if you can. Good. So we just did some chair yoga. So many people's bodies popped and cracked and did a lot of things. Hopefully nobody got hurt. But here is an example of many other ways that you can continue to practice chair yoga. You can, move the head, not too much. You don't want to hurt yourself, but side to side, like stretching out the neck. But yeah, many ways that we can continue to practice this, because our bodies are not moving as much as they used to. This one is a way that, if you all know that this is a French press, you press it down, you make coffee or tea. You can use this as a meditation / chair yoga type of thing, where you can imagine that you're scooping up all of this like positive energy, like we did in the tranquility meditation. So you're scooping it up, and then you push down all toxins and anything that feels negative. And you can practice that in your room if you feel called to do that, or living room, wherever you're most comfortable. And let me just keep going with this. I was going to stop for questions. Does anyone have questions before we go into our next meditation? Everyone feels good? Okay. Hopefully, stretched out a little bit and more relaxed. So with the pandemic and the restrictions in travel, many of us haven't been able to do the things that we might have done this summer, in the fall, for the holidays. And it's important to know that, again, we have the tools to create a safe space through meditation and visualization. So that is another piece of mindfulness, is visualizing sounds, smells, temperatures, etc. Skills that you will continue to build as you practice. So we'll get comfortable once more, in whatever position you'd like. If you want to lay down, if you're at home and you feel like I want to just kind of lean back, you completely can. If you're in a chair, you want to plant your feet and adjust your seat once more. So adjust yourself as needed, like rearrange your back. Rest your arms wherever you're comfortable. That could be on your lap, or maybe you have those arm rests. And take a deep breath as you've been practicing. So I'm going to invite all of you to close your eyes. And continuing your deep breathing cycles. Take a moment to drop your shoulders, to relax any tension that's in your body. And I want you to think of a place that brings you joy, that brings you peace, or where you might feel safe. So bring that space to your mind right now. And just notice how you feel as you kind of remember this place. And I want you to visualize the ground in your safe space. Are you inside? Is there a floor? Are you outside and there's dirt, rocks, or sand? Maybe there's grass. Just noticing the texture of the ground. If you can imagine that you're not wearing shoes, can you feel the ground, or imagine that, what the texture of the ground might feel like? Maybe you notice the temperature. Maybe it's cold, or maybe it's warm or neutral. And continue to breathe. Now I want you to notice if there's any kind of trees or what your surroundings might look like. Maybe you're in a room. Maybe there's, again, there's trees or rocks. Is there water? See if you can hear any sounds. Maybe waves crashing against the beach, or wind. Maybe you hear laughter. Maybe there's people. Or birds. If you look at the sky, what color is your sky? What's the weather like in your safe space? I just want you to imagine that you find somewhere to sit in this safe space. It can be a chair, it can be like a log or a bench. And just sit there and relax and just kind of soak it in. Soak in the safe space. A space that brings you joy and peace. If you can invite anyone to your safe space, imagine doing that now. Imagine extending your arm out and inviting someone to sit next to you. And just know that you can always make this space. And this space belongs to you. And you can go there any moment that you need it. When you're ready, you can blink and return to the room. So if you all want to share what your space was like and some things that you saw or where you might have gone. You can unmute yourself or share in the chat. I know for some people that it might be a little bit difficult to find a safe space. You can always make one up. It doesn't have to be a place that you visited. It could be a place that you've always wanted to go to, a place that you imagine.
Mine was.
Go ahead, Julia.
Sorry. Mine was a little river or like creek that I remember going to in 6th grade for a school trip, and they had us meditate there, and there was smooth rock, and I just chose that little place and all the scratchy weeds that were around, but that one little smooth rock was very nice with the water flowing.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing that. Were you able to hear anything?
Yeah, the water.
Great. Any like temperature?
It was nice and cool. I remember wearing hand warmers because it was so cold.
I like that. Thank you for sharing that. Do you want to add anything?
I remember there were turkeys.
Oh, cool. And did you notice any feelings or emotions that came up for you as you went there?
Just peacefulness.
Okay, so just feeling peace. Good. Thank you for sharing. Anyone else want to share or unmute themselves? I can also read some from the chat. Oh, Ian, do you want to share? No? Okay, I saw you unmute. So I see that Brittany says she went to Cancun with her family in her safe space meditation. Alessandra says she was able to go to the beach and manage to give herself tingles. So like that space. Andrea, her space was peaceful, a peaceful sunset by the beach, and was wearing a sweater since it was cold. And the person she invited was her grandfather, which unfortunately passed away, but in the summer. So you felt like hugging someone. Oh, that was somebody else. Nelly said she felt like hugging someone. It was outside. It was at night and there was grass and some concrete, and the weather was kind of neutral or a little bit warm. I like that, Andrea, you shared that, because sometimes people use safe spaces to connect with those who have passed on. And it's a way to feel close to them and kind of remember the feelings that you experienced with them when they were when they were alive and in this world with you. Cherie says she was in the woods surrounded by flowers and trees and it was cool outside. That's so great. Thank you all for sharing that. Let's see. I'm going to skip this one, and just because I want to give time to giving more tips, but or I'll do this fast. But mindful eating, sometimes some believe that when you have a big meal, you can't concentrate as well. That may or may not be true, but you can try it and notice, or maybe check in, like before you take an exam, do you eat a lot? Do you eat a snack and so forth? And how do you feel after an exam? I know definitely probably after an exam, you might feel hungry because your brain burns calories, your body might. And mindful eating helps us increase our awareness with our meals. Like, how are we chewing? How is our posture as we're eating and so forth? Like the speed of our meal as well. And this is another one that I'm going to skip because I want to give you all tips and I want some more discussion. So this is a quote that I've shared with some people, and it says, "Be careful what you're saying to yourself because you're listening." So with that, let me ask you all, like, do you ever say things to yourself or find yourself that before you take a test or when you're not feeling like you can't keep up with schoolwork, you tend to kind of engage in a negative thought loop where you're saying, I just can't keep up. This all seems impossible, regarding school and so forth. So that might happen. You can share again in the chat or say it out loud. Um, So one thing is I wanted to give you some affirmations. So words are powerful. Words and thoughts affect our emotion and therefore our behavior. So some affirmations for students could be, this exam is a celebration of my knowledge. I know I have what it takes to accomplish my goals. I am a student of life and learning gives me hope. I know my hard work is going to get me the win. My success is the fruit of my knowledge. So all of the things that, affirmations or words, positive phrases that when we say out loud or in ourselves, they do create some emotion that helps decrease any kind of stress or worry that may be sitting inside of us. So affirmations are a useful tool and you can create your own as well. Let's see what we have here in the chat. Yeah, exactly. So Julie shared an experience of something she said to herself that did not help her. Basically, she was saying it almost daily. It was a message that was hard for her, and she used it daily, and she noticed it made her feel bad. So the way that someone explained it to me is, you all have computers, right? You're all on a computer now. When you open a brand new window, the first thing that you see is recently used tabs, right? We all see that. I see it on my computer. I'm sure you see it. So why? Because you're frequently visiting them. And the same thing with our thoughts. You're frequently visiting those negative thoughts. They're going to be easier for you to have access to. If we were to practice those affirmations, for example, like, I'm successful, I work hard, eventually those move up to your recently used tabs and you will believe them and you will like feel the emotions that are um, part of it, right? Like part of feeling like, like this exam is celebrating like all the hard work I did this semester. So this is just like getting me to my next step and my next goal. You will feel positive mood attached to those words. So just listening again, like pay attention to what you say to yourself because you are listening. Okay. So these are some ways to be mindful and practice self-care. And I did this specifically for students. So make SMART goals. SMART meaning specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time bound. So you're not going to say, I'm going to complete all 5 essays. Like that's great and all, but how can I be more specific? Like, well, I think I'm going to make an outline for 2 of them. I'm going to spend 1 hour doing an outline. That's realistic to me because I only have 1 hour if you say that to yourself. And I'm going to give this until the end of today. So doing a goal that has more specifics might be more helpful. And a digital detox. If you were to avoid screens for 1 day, Saturday or Sunday, could you do that? Would that be helpful to you? Avoiding social media for 1 day just to disconnect and restore. And then practicing gratitude and self-compassion. So I'm grateful for the food that I had this morning, to have supportive teachers and like good colleagues and friends, and self-compassion. How can I be nice to myself as I get through this semester? Practicing the meditation exercises in between classes or before an exam. Taking screen breaks in general, taking breaks and also study breaks. We can't necessarily learn or absorb much information after maybe 2 hours or an hour, sometimes as low as 30 minutes. So taking a break, then getting in touch with nature, going outside, staring at your plants. Many of you said that you like to look at plants. So getting in touch with nature, doing one thing at a time, not overwhelming yourself, keeping a journal somewhere where you might want to note down some things that you notice or things that you want to get back to, or just to process emotion, and then utilizing sounds or music. And then I just shared some resources with all of you. that you might look at some apps. My favorite app is Insight Timer, the second one. It's free and has thousands of meditations. And what I like is that you could pick the type of meditation. So it could be for studying, for sleep, for anxiety. And then once you pick the type, you can pick how long you want it. So if you want to start with 2 minutes, you can pick the time for 2 minutes or up to 2 hours. And these are some websites that might be helpful, some books, and some teachers. And more resources. So I'll stop sharing and I'll open the floor for any questions or comments that you all want to bring up. And hopefully you will feel more relaxed at this point, more than when we started. Or hungry, that happens too. Sometimes when we meditate, you do get hungry afterwards. I can't hear Luis. Luis, are you?
Mr. Torres, you're muted.
Yeah.
Thank you. Hopefully everybody took something off from today's presentation. It sounded like a lot of you were surprised to how much you were able to relax. And the best thing to do, and I'm pretty sure April agrees, is to practice this. The worst thing you can do is just learn this and you're just like, oh, wow, that was great, and never do it again. Mm-hmm. And I'm hoping in the coming weeks, you can practice, get used to it. So you start doing it every day or every weekend and so forth. Right, April? Yeah, absolutely. Again, it's like, if you can imagine it like a computer, the more you use it, the more it's going to show up for you. And you might find that people who meditate, who begin to meditate in their journey and start using it, they start to notice things like, wow, I didn't react to my sister or my brother the way that I usually do. Like usually they annoy me, and I kind of didn't feel that, or usually I would have gotten stressed out about like this deadline and that didn't happen this time, and so forth. So Victor feels hungry. Brittany says this is a different experience that she needed. And Alessandra feels relaxed, and Michael says this was cool. Sometimes when we feel nothing, that's actually a good thing too. It's better to feel nothing than to feel any kind of heavy weighing emotion. And Jaden feels tired. That's a good thing. Yeah. Yeah, sometimes these exercises can make you sleepy and relax. So those of you who maybe have trouble falling asleep sometimes, this is also very helpful for that. April, so thank you. We're hoping to do these more often in the future. So I'm hoping that everybody liked that. So we're gonna do hopefully part 2 and part 3 and get really, really good at this. So if everybody could just say thank you to April for joining us today, all the way from Los Angeles. I think it was great. I thought it was great, and I thought I wanted to share this with everybody and staff that is here too. I'm sure that you guys took something from it. We're gonna do a raffle in a minute for those of you who are here. So hang on. Let me see if we have any announcements before we start it. Saturday Academy is this weekend, so hope to see you there at 10 a.m. It should be a lot of fun. We're gonna have a lot of games, and I'm gonna try that app you mentioned, April. I've never heard of that Insight Timer. I missed it a lot at the presentation. So yeah, it's amazing. It's very helpful, and I'll be sending you the copy of this presentation for anyone who wants it. Like if you didn't have it, if you missed a slide and whatnot, and another worksheet that you can have handy whenever you need it. Great, thank you. So if I think we took the names from everybody here, and let's do the raffle. Rosa, if you want to take over with the drawing for a Bluetooth speaker.
So let me share my screen. Actually, Mr. Torres, I'm gonna raffle 2 Starbucks cards for $10 first, and then I'll do the Bluetooth speaker. Is that fine?
Sounds good.
All right. So this is for a Starbucks card. And that is for Yahaira.
Thank you, guys.
Congratulations.
Congrats, Yahaira. This one's for Citlali. And then for the Bluetooth speaker, here you go.
Itza, you have the information here
Yeah.
for the winners? By the way, that's not me. Those of you who are wondering, it's not me, Luis Torres, that you see there.
And the Bluetooth speakers for Michael.
Michael,
Michael Zamora.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
great,
Thank
congratulations.
you guys for being here and congrats.
All right, well, thank you once again to April. We hope to see you soon, maybe next month or the following month, and then we'll talk about that. And thank you, everybody. We'll see you Saturday, 10 a.m. We'll have a lot of prizes, a lot of fun. Anything else, Rosa, Rita? No?
No, thank you guys for being here.
Great. Thank you,
Bye,
everybody.
everyone.